Hey y'all, it's Melalona coming at you with some Omega energy. Tough topic. I feel like I've neglected to talk about certain aspects of spirituality or consciousness. I prefer the term nowadays, like more recently, I prefer the term consciously aware. Because I'm not necessarily spiritual in that sense. I am spiritual, but that's not all of it for me. I'm consciously aware of myself, consciously aware of the universe. I'm constantly aware of you. And hopefully you are constantly aware of me. Sometimes I feel like everybody would like to be in a position to be spiritual in that higher sense. In other words, manifesting, magic stuff, uh, intuition heightened, psychic abilities, clairs, one of the clairs, or all of the clairs, and all these things. But one thing I don't think so far that I've heard anybody talk about, other than being like, okay, it's, I've heard people say, like, this is a club, not necessarily say those words, I'm paraphrasing, where a select few people get into. I don't see it that way personally. Like, either you are or you ain't, and nobody can decide that for anybody. I won't. I know real recognizes real though. That's the thing. Anyway, I don't think the difficulty levels are discussed enough. And there's a reason why I'm doing this. Because I have a lot of babies who are on their healing journey, not necessarily their spiritual journey, because not everybody's spiritual, and that's okay. You don't have to be spiritual to get by in this place. Decent to yourself, decent to your environment and others. Figure out a way to keep bread on your table. That's it. Everything else is extra. Why I would choose extra over and over again is beyond me sometimes, even. But I will say, learning enough to recognize yourself, being consciously aware of yourself. In other words, if you have a toxic trait that maybe you weren't aware of, or aware that was toxic, and you've become more consciously aware of that via understanding levels of dynamics and energetic push and pull that you give to yourself and other people. Okay, that's it. Like, you don't have to do any more than that to be a sound parent, a teacher, or a guide to the younger generation in your family or in your community. Being consciously aware of yourself, your actions, how it impacts you, how it impacts other people, being more thoughtful in how you act in every way that you act. Except for the times where you're just having fun, and everybody understands we having fun right now. This is not something that's supposed to be taken super, super serious. But there are moments in which you need to be, a little grown up or adult. Paying bills is one of those moments. I don't enjoy it, but it has to happen. But the reason why I'm saying this is because I've had a lot of experience of babies that come to me, and everybody who comes to me, I'm like, that's babies, that's babies. And even if they're my age or older than me, it's like that's a beloved, babies or beloved or whatever. To me, that's someone who's decided they want to trust me enough to teach them something. And that's a big deal. I don't know about for nobody else, but for me, that's a huge deal. And I take that responsibility so seriously that now it's like, okay, you need to be protective of self, protective of their energy, and make sure you order in every single one of your words and your steps, lady. Because what you do can positively or negatively impact that person. And that's why I'm speaking on this right now. I had to go through a lot of stages to get to this point where I'm at right now. And when I say I had to go through a lot of stages, that means I had several in my life dark nights of the soul. If you don't know what dark night of the soul is yet, I'm gonna give you a little snippet, but Google it, do some research on it. It would be beneficial, most likely. But dark nights of the soul is moments in which you really just don't want to be here no more, and have to search for the light to stay. Dark nights of the soul are physically, emotionally, and spiritually excruciating. And parts of the time, and during those times is when you do some of your deepest shadow work, but you come out of it renewed and anew. But like it's, I don't know if any of you babies seen like those Rocky movies or movies in which somebody went through a hell of a lot of shit and somehow survived it, but they look like they've experienced something. They look like what they experienced. That's what Dark Nights of the Soul are. I've gone through several, and one of which is a few of which I was actually still a child trying to understand what the hell was happening to me. Sometimes you choose the dark night of the soul by choosing to go deeper into your shadow work, and that's not an easy choice to make, but I've made those too. And it still feels the same. Song sounds the same. In which you literally are in an ass ball begging for some light. And then you might actually start getting downloads, and we've talked about downloads before, but I'll give you a little snippet. This is just random thoughts that come to you that somehow gives you some more clarity and depth on a particular subject matter or a situation or even a person. You're going to still get those during the dark night of the soul, and you want to make sense of it while you're in that ass ball struggling to life. Mm-hmm. And then, if you have some kind of energy and faculties to do it, over time, as you had a few of these dark nights of the soul, you're going to write down some of the things that you're experiencing during those dark nights of the soul, especially when you're going through the shadow area of your own personal shadow work. Because during dark night of the soul, you're not just in a moment in which you might be feeling depression, anxiety. It goes way beyond that. You feel attacked emotionally, spiritually, physically. You feel like you are fighting for your mofo life, and you fight the hell out of that and come to the light. And whatever light you come to, that's just the beginning of a new cycle for you of learning and growth and development. See these tarot cards? I'm about to pick you up a deck because I love them. They're fun. They give you some insights. They're a tool, but this is not spirituality or consciousness. This is a tool in which some use to deliver messages to themselves or others. Astrology, even, in and of itself and by itself, is also a tool to help us understand the cosmos as well as our own stardust at the time of our inception into this reality. Helps us understand ourselves a little bit better if we use it according to that. But the essence of self-awareness comes from all those dark nights of the soul and the shadow work. You want to get to a place, if you ever want to get to a place in which you have discernment that is not just the norm of your peers, you're going to have to go through several dark nights of the soul. Dark night of the soul don't happen just once for peeps like myself. It happens periodically out of nowhere until you get a complete awareness of self. And even then, you might still have some dark nights of the soul when you're caring for someone else because you're experiencing some of their energy. You know they're going through a dark night of the soul. If you're helping them through it, guess what? You're experiencing some of that energy too. You're taking on that energy. So anybody in a position to be a spiritual guide, this is not something you do lightly. It's an honor to have that as a position in my life, but I don't do it lightly. And there are times I take breaks as I have to for my own emotional, spiritual development and well-being. But I've gotten pretty good at handling whatever comes because I've had a lifetime full of dark nights of the soul in which I've examined myself and peeled off layers of my humanness. And that's what I'm talking about next. Some of your humanness will be laid bare and peeled off of you. You have to know that you want to do that. Because you will never again, if there's enough dark nights of the soul and illumination of the mind, You will never again walk into a crowd and not experience something. If you have enough of them and do enough of this journeying into the spiritual self aspect of things, there are going to be times where you mind your own damn business and you suddenly have a clairvoyant moment. Or one of the clairs is there's more than one clair. There's claircognizant, there's clairsentient, which I think is the same damn thing, to be honest. But clairvoyance is the one that most people are common knowledge, and that's the one that tells you, well, maybe you can hear spirits or something like that. There's telepathy, and there's a lot of people out there that are afraid. It's like cognitive dissonance is going down. We've been told so long in our life these things are not real, or people are crazy or making them up, that's the common knowledge. And I'm okay with that at this particular point. I ain't fighting that battle no more. I know what I experienced personally. But if you trying to turn all that on, know that there are going to be days where you're going to want to turn it off and you ain't going to be able to, because once the on switch is on, that's it. It don't turn back off. So the things I teach you here is for your everyday life to in some way become consciously aware of yourself. Have a better outcome in circumstances that you may be having trouble with or challenges with. But this process is not meant for you to completely uncover all those layers. Why? I wouldn't force that on my worst enemy. I'm gonna be honest with you. Yes, there are moments where I feel like it's an absolute blessing, because there are some gifts and things of that nature. Sorry, I got a little glitch. There's some gifts and things of that nature that I guess I wouldn't give back. But there are some really challenging moments when there's a major energy shift in the planetary movements and the conscious collective energy. Honey, I feel that. The real ones out there feel that. And if it's something that is really harsh, like something massive happening, oh yeah, it takes its toll. And you gotta fight and punch the ground and get up every single day and fight through that energy to keep on going and keep a smile on your face, find something to be happy about, something to laugh at just to get through one day. And then there are times where everything is effortless because you've fought those battles. Now, I might be alone in this, but here you go. I'm not one of those people that's going to tell you this is the specific energy, deity, strength, universal, whatever that is doing anything on my behalf. I won't do that because I feel like it biases you and it tells you what you have to believe. And I don't believe that anybody should be told what they have to believe to get by. Believe what you need to get by, but don't cause harm if you can manage it while you believe in that. That's all I feel about that. I'm an omniist. If you haven't heard that before, you hear it again now or for the first time now, look that up. Omniism. Okay? That's literally the concept that all belief structures are valid and how you operate within them is what matters. And it's a big whole of oneness, all things being connected and all things being of equal import. Now, you ain't got to believe that. I'm just letting you know where I'm coming from energetically. That's what I believe. Okay? I do also believe that human beings are capable, way more capable than they believe they are, because they've been told, again, a lot of these things aren't real. In that same vein, yes, they are. And if you be so inclined and challenge yourself to go down a walk of a journey into this, and where I sit now, it's somewhere between a sage and a magi. M-A-G-J-I, magi, or M-A-G-I, depending upon what book you're referencing will give you the spelling. But magi just means someone who's understood the scientific levels and the spiritual levels of magic and chooses to honor themselves in that vein by expressing it in this way or a multitude of ways. But the sage is someone who understands a little bit more than what is shown to the naked eye, can sense and feel things on different levels, and typically gives pretty great advice. And then you mix that with the energy of the Magi, and then you're cooking with something. But none of that was gotten easy. Like I've talked about the chosen ones before, but let me tell you something. Not everybody made it to adulthood. I know that for a fact. Mm-hmm. When I say chosen ones, like someone from birth who had the gifts on board, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to use them for anything good or you're going to ever express them to anybody or you're not going to medicate it away, because for many years I did. Because, again, being told that clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, telepathy even, is something that is delusional. I'm a scientist at heart. I believed it. I'm not ashamed to say that at this point. I wanted to, because for me that was easier than the reality that I was different. I've tried so hard for so many years when I was younger to somehow blend, and then I came to a place of acceptance, and I kept continuously trying to accept. And once I accept it, doesn't mean that I stopped utilizing tools to turn the knob down some, so that I can educate myself, so that I can raise my children. I ain't had time for be hearing and seeing and feeling all those things. But if I'm in a group of people, if I'm in a group of 100 people and one of those people is depressed, I'm going to experience that person. Either I'm going to somehow make my way to them or they're going to make their way to me. And we're going to talk about it. It could be a social setting. I could be at a game or a parade or anything. It could be at a nightclub. It happens to me all the time. Now, am I going to pretend like I'm always thrilled when this happens? No. I'm not always unhappy when it happens. I'm like, you know what? I take it as a part of the job. And the benefits of going through all those things and surviving it, I see it as a marker for me to be able to help someone else. That's a way for me to see it, not being a waste of energy. Or I didn't go through all that for nothing, honey. I'm here to help you. It's like going to the gym, but over and over again and getting them gains. Every single dark night of the soul. I feel like I've gotten some gains, y'all. My biggest one, I guess, one of my biggest ones in adult life, excuse me, y'all. I know my nose itches. And when I'm channeling or when I'm on here, y'all just going to have to forgive me. And the weather's changing too, so that ain't helping. But one of the biggest ones in my adult life happened, I say, about 3 years ago, something like that. And I mean, the changes in me. I thought I was done with Dark Nights of the Soul, and be honest. Pretty much thought I was done with them. And sometimes you think you finish with a level of growth, and then the universe or God, whatever you believe in, comes in. It's like you make plans and God laughs. That part. I had everything planned out in my life, and then it's like, nah, you're going to have to go through all these physical, mental, emotional, spiritual changes because you got a job to do, and you can't do it in this state. I ain't like that. I never like it. And I go into like, oh, not again. Nowadays, I can tell when a miniature one is coming on. I don't have no really big ones anymore. I can tell when a miniature one is coming on. I'm like, oh, I guess. And I take some downtime for myself. And then I recover. Because even after the dark night of the souls, you need to recover from that, sisters and brothers. You need to recover from that. Because it's not just your wakeful life. It is also your sleeping life. Your dreams become more vivid, sometimes disturbing. Sometimes you're learning things and you're getting visitations from your ancestors, and over and over and over and over again, and you get messages and things to heal, or knowledge that you didn't know how the hell you obtained it. So it's not one thing, but it's a lot of things that you have to recover from every single time. And then once you recover from it, you're feeling like, I'm walking on sunshine. That's what it typically feels like to me. But each time I've gone through one of the more serious or severe where it lasts for sometimes days, weeks. Well, weeks and months. Dark nights of the soul, when you dive all the way in it and you don't fight it, can last for months. And some people would diagnose it in the scientific community as depression or chronic depression. But if you just give it a label and say it don't have no meaning or no purpose behind it, then that's what people believe. That's not what I believe personally, but to each his own. In my experience, when I have dark nights of the soul, they have purpose. I lean into the purpose now more now in my adult life than I ever have because I know more. I've educated myself more. There's a reason why I'm telling you this. One, when I say I am not the authority, and I've said it before, I'm not the authority, I'm a authority. When I say authority, I don't mean power over any of you, anyone. Authority in the, I guess, academic sense. I understand these things. I am not the only one who understands these things, but I happen to understand them and mastered many areas of it. So that makes me the authority on the subject matter, if that makes sense. Okay? And now, am I the only one? No. There's others out there. I feel them often. Most of them, a lot of them don't like me. I am an acquired taste. I still feel like I'm fantastic though. Anyway. Every single time I do it. Oh God. Sorry y'all. I just have to I make my own self laugh because even I'm one of those people, digressive, I know that even when something's inappropriate or is an appropriate moment, I will make a joke or I'll laugh because I feel like that's what gets us past a lot of humps in a lot of ways. Like, are we required to be angry and sad and upset all the damn time? Even in moments where it seems like we're supposed to be? It's like you have an inappropriate emotion during like a very serious situation. That house is on fire. Well, I mean, it can't get more on fire by me laughing. I'm not gonna laugh at the people, but I might laugh sneakily, have a little sneak laugh with a friend or something in the corner about the ridiculousness of all of it. Even sometimes it's benefited the people that are around me because when they're sad, I'm laughing and it helps them climb out of it, even if it's for a second. That I'm cool with it. But again, that's enough of that digression. The reason why I'm having this conversation with you today is because I think so many want to get to the sage in the Magi stage. And it's like, okay, that's open for you if you have the skill set and the fortitude to be able to handle what comes along with that. Because a lot of things come along with that you've been told previously does not exist. And I won't go into too many details here, but yeah. For example, I'll give you one example and you'll be like, well, that's crazy. It's AF, but I'm just like, I'm going to give it to you. Human concept of angels. I was talking to a friend of mine about this the other day. The human concept of angels. You have them talked about in various forms in different religious texts around the world. But what I understand is they don't look like us. If they exist, they don't look like us. It's a very terrifying and jarring experience. That's why I called bullshit a long time ago on a lot of these historical sightings of different angels, and whenever they have reenactments, it's always like some white chick or some white dude that came through. They got this like perfectly sculptured face and body, and they have white wings and white robes, and they have this glowing light, and it's all pleasant and serene. And I'm like, I call bullshit on that because they don't have enough eyes. There's no contraptions around them. There's no nothing that, from what I understand, anything that isn't human is not going to look human. It's easier for us to conceptualize things when we see something that looks like us. That has not been my experience in my dream state. I'll just put it that way. That's an example. That sounded crazy AF, right? Mm-hmm. That's one of those things that it's not like, would I want to wish something like that on my worst enemy? Not really. It's more of If it happens, it happens. I'll be willing to support someone who's had an experience, whether they be dreaming, meditating, or in their 3D reality that they can't really piece together or make sense of. I will help them through that. But however, I'm not going, you know, co-sign anyone not getting a full assessment to make sure that they're not having something going on wrong in the ticker up there. Barring that, and you're able to live your life, you're dressing yourself, you're going to work or school, whatever it is you do to have a livelihood, you are able to cook and clean and take care of yourself, bathing yourself regularly, eating, and all these things. All the things that you need to live a fruitful life and some way for yourself are present. And then you've had some kind of professional assessment. After which time, I'm like, okay, what are these experiences you're having? Okay, so your dreams are prophetic. All right, how long have they been prophetic? Let's see what we can do to get you some assistance with that. That's how I handle stuff like that, especially when it's a young baby and nobody believes them. I'm going from step to step to step. And the reason why I do that mostly for free, especially for the young ones, is because I didn't have it. That's another thing that comes along with this. The example I gave of you being in a crowd, or when I'm in a crowd of people, and I can always know who's experiencing anxiety and depression, and they'll either make their way to me or I'll somehow find my way close to them. And they, express everything that's going on with them to me, no matter what the setting is. I still consider that as a part of the job, and I should honor that position, even if it makes me tired sometimes. In this sense, because I was once that person that didn't know what to do or where to go, but I didn't have the freedom or the safety to talk to somebody about it. Because everything I've learned up until that point says that there was a lot wrong with me, my mental state, or my emotions, or spirituality. There's no way I could possibly be experiencing my ancestors that's delusional. Or whatever they're telling me is something that I'm manifesting in my dreams because of day life anxiety. It was always explained away in some 3D manner that made me feel small, or what I was saying, not being appreciated for what the experience was. I don't do that to my babies. This platform is a free space. When you come to me personally, it's a free space for you to talk about the things that you feel that you can't talk about with others, and that's part of the purpose of what I do. And also help you with just regular everyday life and see, wait, do you think you need a therapist? Do you know what the different types of therapists are? Let's see if we can find one in your area if you want one. Do you understand the levels of spirituality and how to meditate? Let's see if we can't teach you how to meditate and a way that works for you, because everybody meditates different. It works differently for everybody. Some people need binaural beats. Some people prefer the silence. Some people meditate at night best. Some people meditate during the day best, but that's a trial and error thing. Like that. The reason why I'm having this conversation with you again is for you to understand. You don't have to get to the level of sage or magi in order to be in alignment with yourself. I chose a fucking obstacle course for my life, and I don't necessarily co-sign everybody doing that, because it ain't for everybody. But it's not something I will bar you from trying. It's something I'm telling you about the difficulty levels of it. Because you might be, and I've had this experience where I'm just laying in my bed chilling, and suddenly, boom, I see something. And I don't want to look. You think, oh, she seen so much at this point, she won't be scared of none of it. Shit, sometimes I still get spooked, where something will just be there, and I'm like, all right, what you want? And I'm still spooked on the inside, but I ain't gonna let them punk me in my own damn house. Now I have less and less of that. The more I learned about how to protect my home, myself, my environment, my children, all that. I have less and less experiences like that, but there were times in my life where I didn't know a lot of stuff because I didn't have the guidance in this dimension to guide me on anything. I could learn this stuff from scratch and getting in the books, going through the energies, trial and error, messing up a lot, See, a lot of folks that had like guardians, like human beings who went through a lot of the ascension, a lot of dark night of the soul, learned about the spirituality through generations and generations and generations. And so they had somebody to go to, like a mambo, a babalao, or something like this. I didn't have any of that. All I had was my spirit guides, my dream state, my books, some of my grandmother's wisdom on both sides of the family. That's it. That's it. I got here through hook, crook, bloody knuckles, and everything else, and I'd be damned if somebody tell me I don't belong. That's the way I feel about it. But that one's personal. Take it if you want it. Anyway, I don't believe that everybody need to go to that place of, oh, I can sense and feel and do all these things and read tarot and astrology and all that. You don't need to be able to do that for anybody else other than yourself, love. Because I'm telling you, I'm cute. But don't think that because I look like I'm okay all the time, which when I come on here, I am okay. I don't fake the funk for no damn body. But there are days where this is difficult. There are days where the energy shifts are making my body feels like somebody's cracking my bones and crushing my energy. And I have to fight my way out of that. And I'm experiencing this for anybody who may be around me and is completely consciously unaware or in some way consciously unaware. I fight battles in this dimension and others. Ones in which I want to fight, ones I don't want to fight because I feel like it should be obvious that this is a thing that needs to happen. But I fight them anyway. One of those battles, which I'm still delighted to know about, is like the battle of energetically, spiritually, melanated folks being able to wear their natural hair for employment, school, and otherwise. I've been fighting that battle since I was a teenager. Behind the scenes and on the front lines. And it's finally movement in my adult life. That took years to do. Same thing with all those pardons for marijuana that just came down. That's been years of fighting. And sometimes by my damn self. So no, this is not easy. No, I don't recommend it for everybody. But maybe that's why they have that moniker on it. I just don't like the idea and concept of gatekeeping personally. But if I'm going to gatekeep, this is the best I can do. Is to tell you that this ain't easy. Tell you you're going to have to go through a whole lot of trials. And when I do trials, when I say trials, those trials are mental, physical, and spiritual. And you're going to have to keep getting up and going no matter what. And sometimes you will not have a lick of support. The higher up you get, the less support you have sometimes because they don't know how, not because they don't want to. Hell, to this day, there are people who are definitely afraid of me because once they've experienced certain aspects of me, they're like, well, damn, I thought that was all bullshit. No, it wasn't, none of it. But at the same time, doesn't mean that I'm not a human being that wants to be just treated like said sometimes by my friends, family, and partners and stuff like that. But that gets harder and harder with time too, because it gets harder to relate to others. The more you know, the less you relate. So if you want to continuously be community oriented, social, not go through, and go through life without so many trials and difficulties, then it's okay to become more consciously aware, emotionally, mentally, physically healthy for yourself, your clan, kinsmen, children, future generations, so that you can be the light for them. And you don't have to go no further than that. You don't have to dive into tarot, astrology, spirituality, and all its tenets. You don't have to start understanding quantum physics and all this, because I did. Do you enjoy math? Lots of it. Would you like to one day walk outside and see nothing but numbers on pretty much everything? And your vision literally changes over time till you start to see the mathematics of all things. And sometimes, and here's one of my experiences too, there's somebody who's emotionally trying to relate to me, and all I can see is the mathematics of the circumstance. I have to bring myself back to the 3D center, bring it out of the clouds and bring it back down. Like I have to force it sometimes. So I'm saying to you, don't dive in unless you're ready for all that. And I haven't had anybody explain to me that way when I was younger, or learning. Not that that probably would have stopped me. I think what happens over time for me, to me, was supposed to happen so that I can be exactly who I am now. And I'm cool with it. Pretty fantastic. I've told you this before. But it ain't for everybody. And that's okay. All right? Y'all loved.